Question number 1 on homework on page 513 is a really good way to illustrate everything we're doing here. These are key questions, so I'll just show you how you solve them. The one formula we know is that the area of a rectangle is base times height, and what we mean by base is any side, right? This might be the base, but the height is really the altitude, the distance between those sides. So notice the distance here, if we have something like this, oops, sorry. If I consider this my base, then the distance between the two is the length of the perpendicular. That's the altitude, so that's height. But that's going to be the same distance no matter where we draw it. So it's base times height. And I'm going to use that when I'm trying to find the area of this kind of shaded region. And there are two ways that we can do this. We could divide this up into rectangles. So one thing I could do is divide that up, and I know opposite sides of rectangles are congruent. So if this is 6, this is 6. If this is 5, this is 5. If this is 7, this is 7. And if this is 9, then this is 9. If this is 14, then this whole side is 14, of which I've already used up 9 units, so this is 5. So one thing I could do is I could say the area of this rectangle is 6 times 14, and I'm going to have to multiply that out. 6 times 14, which is 84. The area of this rectangle is 5 times 5. Well, I know that's 25. And the area of this rectangle, well, if on the left-hand side is 14 or right-hand side, we're going to assume that's 14. And 7 times 14, I happen to know, is 98. So the total area is 84 plus 25 plus 98. So the area for 1A should be 207. I'm going to show you another way to do this. Another way to do would be to use a little subtraction. That what I can think of is that we start with, this is 14, and going across I have 6, I have 5, I have 7. So I know the total distance across is 6 plus 5 plus 7, which is 18. So I could consider that I have that entire rectangle, which has an area of 14 by 18, so I could say that my total area is 252, but then I need to get rid of that little piece. And the piece that I'm going to get rid of, I know is going to be 5 by 9, so I'm getting rid of an area of 45. And if I do 252 minus 45, in fact, sure enough, that's going to give me the same 207 I would have gotten in the first place. Okay, for B, I believe I'm going to do this by subtracting. So I'm going to finish off these rectangles, and I'm going to say this is 3, this is 4, 2, 3. So if I was going to look at this big rectangle, I know the distance across is 12. This side is 8. So the whole thing, if I was going to find the area of the whole thing, that's 12 times 8, which is 96. So the area of the whole is 96, but from that I'm going to get rid of this little piece, this rectangle, which has an area of 6, and this rectangle, which is 3 by 4, so that's 12. So from my 96, I need to get rid of those two. I'm going to get rid of 18, and 96 minus 18 leaves me with 78. The other thing that I could have done, I'm going to do this a little bit differently. The other thing I could have done is I could have just used this region. This might be a little bit harder. I'm going to try to create some rectangles. And what I'm going to try to do is create a few rectangles here. So let's see. So I know this is 5. I know if this is 3, I'm going to write it in color. If this is 3, then that's 3, which means this whole side from here to here is 8. So this little piece is 5. This is 3. This is 5. Let's see. It's kind of complicated, but I know that this whole side would be 8. I'm subtracting 2, so that's a 6. So the area of this rectangle is 18. And this one I have 15. And this is going to be 5 by let's see, this is 9 going across, so that's 45. So 18 plus 15 plus 45 gives me the same 78 I would have gotten by subtracting. And lastly, for C, this is something that we should be familiar with. We know the length of the side here is really just the change in y. That's 8. The change of this side over here is really just our change in x, which is 10. So I know my area for C is going to be 8 times 10, or 80.